Crack all my knuckles.
There we go. You got a ritual.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Optimistic Underdog podcast, where we talk official sports stories with unofficial sports people. Today, I am joined by my guest, Vits Patel. Vits, what is going on?
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I am Erica, as you know, from the official unofficial podcast crew. And this is going to be our first actual podcast about sports. So we're going to be talking some sports stories. We each brought one story to talk about that happened this past week and one story coming up from this week ahead. And we're just going to kind of go back and forth, talk about our stories and go from there. So we hope you enjoy this. And hey, you know what? Let's just get right into it. So Vits, what is your big sports story?
So this week, actually today, and it's just wrapped up, was the Rolex 24. So it's the Daytona 24 Hours, and it's the first round of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. That's a bit of a mouthful. But the big news is, so 24 hours, twice around the clock around Daytona in Florida, around Daytona International Speedway, and the Acura AX05 of Philippe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor, Alexander Rossi, and Helio Castroneves. They won. So they only won by 4.7 seconds after 24 hours of racing. And
Wow.
this race had everything. It had lots of caution periods, had late drama. So the team that was in third place, the Ganassi Cadillac, that blew a tire with just 7 minutes to go. Thankfully,
Oh my
everybody was
gosh.
okay. But yeah, so that was in the top class. Yeah, as we say, so the number 48 Action Racing Express Cadillac that came in second, and then Howard Ticknell's Mazda, powered by Multimatic, that came in third. So that was the top. But yeah, this race had everything. It was wild.
That is crazy. So I know I used to watch a little bit of NASCAR racing back in the day, but
Mhm.
this is F1 and a 24-hour race. That just seems crazy. So
Absolutely.
that's a
So
lot of racing.
it's sports cars. We had former F1 drivers. So Alexander Rossi, he used to be in F1. This race
Mhm.
also featured Kevin Magnussen, who raced in F1 last year and was actually due to be in the same field of his father, Jan Magnussen, but those contracts didn't
Wow.
line up. But yeah, so it was really exciting, and yeah, I caught most of the race as it went into the night, and there's 13 hours of darkness, and yeah, but we did have some NASCAR runners. So Jimmy Johnson, multiple
Okay.
NASCAR champion, he was running in there. He was in the number 48 Cadillac
Wow.
alongside Kamui Kobayashi, another Formula One ace. And yeah, so this race had everything. In the lower classes, Mercedes-Benz AMG took the win in GTD, so that's more of the Grand Tourer
Okay.
categories. And
Hmm.
then yeah, Corvette had an amazing day with a 1-2 finish uh, for their class of the number 3 and number 4 machines.
Wow. See, this is so exciting. This is one of my big points of this podcast is I'm so excited to bring in lots of guests who have lots of knowledge about different kinds of sports. And this is just absolutely thrilling to me hearing all this really, really cool stuff about racing. So Jimmy Johnson, I know he obviously we mostly know him around here is just the Lowe's driver, obviously. Uh,
That's it.
my family, a lot of us have actually worked at Lowe's. I've got Jimmy Johnson stuff all around the house, actually. And he was never one of my favorite NASCAR drivers. I was always a Casey Kane fan. So, um, but yeah, just and especially in my field working with cars, hearing about the Mercedes AMGs and things like that, super
Mhm.
interesting. And only winning by what did you say the first place team won? Only by
4.7 seconds.
4.7? That is
Yeah,
not a lot of time in a 24-hour race. Crazy.
that's it. I remember sharing on social that after 12 hours, the leaders were only separated by 0.2 of a second. So yeah, it was back
Oh,
and forth the whole way
wow.
through.
That's not much time at all. That is crazy.
Not at all.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else to add to your interesting story about racing?
Yeah, so obviously after 24 hours, the drivers get a little bit of a break. But then,
Yes.
yeah, so Sebring is going to be the next round, which is officially the bumpiest circus in the world. But yeah, hopefully everybody was safe. There was no accidents. We had a really nasty accident a couple of years ago with a recent
Oh,
Competizione Ferrari. But yeah, none of that this time round. So yeah, everybody was happy to have a clean, safe race.
always good to have the safe races. That's the one scary part I know of NASCAR watching around
Absolutely.
is just the accidents can be terrifying. I know there was a rather bad one. I believe it was last year. that the guy was pretty lucky to walk away from. So that's
Mhm.
always a good thing. No accidents. Yes.
What's happening in
Woo.
your world, Erica?
So obviously, well, here, my background, we can see lots of hockey stuff back here. I think a lot of folks know that I am huge into hockey. So, of course, my first big story is obviously going to be hockey related. Um, so the Penguins general manager, long time, he's been around for, I want to say, probably close to at least 10 years now. Jim Rutherford very abruptly left the team this week. I don't think anybody was really expecting it. A few people maybe over the summer thought that he was finally going to take his leave, but yes, this week he decided he was going to resign due to what he said were personal reasons. Um, so as the week kind of went along, there were a few rumors that finally leaked about, and some people were rather shocked, like our owner Mario Lemieux and some of the players. So one of the most likely rumors I want to say that came about was that Rutherford was planning a pretty large trade with one of our big defensemen, Chris Letang. Letang has been part of the team for a very long time now. He's been a huge part of the team's success, especially in past years with our 3 Stanley Cups that we've won with Rutherford. But the past few years, he just hasn't been himself. Now, Letang has had a pretty rough history with injuries. He had a stroke in his
Oh, no.
20s. I mean, boy's had he's had a rough time, to be fair. But rumor has it that he was working a trade with a team that Letang had on his trade list, and management wasn't real happy about that. So our one owner, David Morehouse, said, Rutherford, no, we don't want to do this. Rutherford said that he was going to leave then because he wanted to work with a team who was going to let him manage.
Yeah.
And, you know, Morehouse was kind of like, hey, pump the brakes. Why don't you think about it for a couple days? And, he went off, thought about it for a couple days and was like, yeah, I think I'm going to leave. So that's kind of the rumor that's going around right now. It's very upsetting to see him leave. When he originally came to Pittsburgh, he was only supposed to be here for a couple years to kind of get our assistants up to speed to where they needed to be general managers, but he
Mhm.
stuck around for a while, and I don't think anyone was too upset about that. He was a fantastic general manager. But yeah, kind of left us questioning things. He left, didn't wasn't upset, just very gentlemanly, just said, it was personal reasons, and that was that. And then never didn't say he was going to retire. We could see him pop up at another team, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. He's been general manager in other teams and has always done very well. So it was a little sad and a little bit of a shakeup here. So
Absolutely.
currently we have Patrick Alvin, who is our temporary GM,
Okay.
first Swedish born general manager of a team, which is super cool for me.
Get
I think
that.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where it leaves us right now. Also, this big blockbuster trade that he was trying with his kind of miniature rebuild for the Penguins that he was trying to work on. Um, I mean, hockey's only been going on for about a week and a half right now in the States, and the Penguins have already lost, I believe it's 5 defensemen to injuries, including Letang last night in a game. He is
Oh, no.
out with an injury now. They were evaluating him for a lower body injury last night, but yes, the Penguins quite often have been cursed with that injury bug, and it hit early and it hit hard this season. And um,
Hopefully, they've got all that out of the way now for the rest of the season.
we'll see. Yeah, they've already lost most of their defensemen. A lot of them are week to week, longer term injuries too. So that trade might not have been the worst idea, but yeah, with Letang out now and who knows for how long, we'll see how that really affects them.
That's crazy.
It is. It's definitely been a whirlwind week for the Penguins, that's for sure. So I
Brilliant.
think that is going to be our two big stories for this week, which will lead us to what's coming up. Vitz, what is coming up in the world of racing?
So, Formula One, obviously, the season's about to get underway. So, winter testing
Mhm.
is due to start next month. And then the season was supposed to kick off in Australia. So, FIA, the governing body of Formula One, they announced a 23 race calendar, which everybody thought was excessive. Obviously, last year was the calendar was scheduled to go ahead as normal, but then we had this little
Mhm.
thing called the pandemic, and yeah, so we
So
still got 20 races out, which is amazing. But yeah, so the what we're hearing right now is that the Australian Grand Prix, which is due to start in the end of March, that is to get cancelled, and yeah, so but the teams are still preparing. So Ferrari did a private test at their private track at Fiorano, and with a 2-year-old car as the rules mandate. But they had 7 drivers roll out, including Mick Schumacher. So son of 7-time world champion Michael. He's going to make his race debut with the Haas team this year. But yeah, it was really emotional to see a Schumacher back in a Ferrari again.
I even know that name, so it's gotta mean something.
That's it. What's new in
That
your
is
world?
that is some pretty big news, I think. So, obviously, sticking with hockey, I really think the Penguins search for a general manager really needs to take front seat here. That's a big thing,
Absolutely.
and it kinda ties in with also what is hockey going to do with the trade deadline this year? Obviously, the general manager was working on some trade stuff, and it leads to this big question, I think, of so they split up the divisions this year with, all of the teams playing in the US are all in their own separate divisions, but then all the teams in Canada are in their divisions because of that pandemic, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, so are they it's gonna be a little bit tricky with the trade deadlines, and if teams are gonna be trading back and forth between Canadian teams and US teams, are those players gonna have to go through COVID protocol back and forth? Is it gonna, make teams not wanna trade with other teams because of those
That's it.
protocols and things like that? It's gonna be interesting, I think, but also with the shortened season, I think it really puts some pressure on the Pens to try to find a general manager quickly. There's only 50, 50 some games this season. That's a short season. That's 30 games less than a normal season.
Mhm.
And we have, we're playing the same teams a lot, obviously, being interdivisional, games this year. But
Yeah.
it's makes it very interesting. They really, I didn't think the season was gonna kind of kick off to this kind of start. It's going to make things interesting for sure. So,
Absolutely. What are the
looking
odds of
forward
the
to it.
interim manager becoming the full-time manager?
So we see it happen from time to time, and with there I don't really think there's very many options available out there right now. So
Okay.
I've heard it's funny. The one I've heard a lot was we used to have a general manager by the name of Ray Shiro in Pittsburgh. He is actually available right now. He was the
Okay.
general manager in New Jersey for a bit. They fired him and got a new general manager. Um, so he's actually available right now. I can't see him coming back yet just because he was the general manager right before they hired Rutherford.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but so and then I know there's a lot of people who would love a gentleman by the name of Bill Guerin, who was kind of one of the ones that Rutherford was grooming to be a replacement, but he is the general manager for the Minnesota Wild right now, who's doing a great job up there. He's fantastic. And then also there was another one, and I'm not going to be able to remember his name off the top of my head because I could never remember his name when he was in Pittsburgh either. He's actually the general manager for the upcoming team, the Seattle Kraken. And even though there's really not a team up there yet, there's people are wondering if he might actually leave up there to have the chance to be the general manager in Pittsburgh. I don't I
Mhm.
don't see that happening. I would be very surprised if that happened. Um, but also there's a lot of rumors of maybe some recently retired players such as Chris Draper wanting to actually step into maybe a general manager role, which I always love seeing ex-players in general manager roles. They're my
Yeah.
favorite. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting for sure, and I would love to see something happen sooner rather than later for the Penguins because I think they need that structure. They don't do really well without it. So, we shall see. It's going to be an interesting week,
Exciting times ahead.
very much. And then also, there's that big football game thing coming up in a week, but,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that next week. Psh, who needs that?
That's it.
We're gonna be recording before that happens anyways next week, so it's okay. So all right, so let's talk about our stupid sports story of the week. And I really don't have much to say about this other than it is dumb. So, Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, has confirmed that he was riding in the back of a pickup truck holding a case of beer in a viral video, in case anybody
No
was concerned.
way.
I guess losing that game really hurt him a lot, and he needed to go for a ride in the back of a pickup truck holding a case of beer. I don't know what happened there. I thought that was the silliest thing I saw, and that was the silliest sports story I could find this past week, and I had to bring that up today. So, I thought it was fantastic. So
Great stuff.
It is, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but hey, you know what? I think that is going to wrap it up for us today. We're going to keep it short for this one, but you know what? This is going to be the sports show, and I would love to hear feedback from any of you. So please send us a message, leave us a comment, hit that like, subscribe, all those fun things. Check out the Patreon at the OU Pod over on Patreon. And you know what? Until next time, keep it unofficial.